There's a quiet moment in your evolution that almost no one notices, not because it's rare, but because it's subtle. Outwardly, nothing seems to happen. No fireworks, no sudden breakthroughs. Yet inside, something undeniable is rearranging itself. It's a soft pause in the noise you've been carrying for years, a strange calm that slips past your mind, but never past the quantum field. This is the earliest sign your reality is shifting. Many imagine quantum manifestation as loud, dramatic, or overwhelming, a surge of clarity, a rush of power, a sudden aha. But real quantum change doesn't work that way. It doesn't announce itself. It unfolds quietly in the background, while your conscious mind is still catching up. It reorganizes timelines before your thoughts even know it. The quantum field doesn't crash into your life. It glides. And the deeper the shift, the quieter it feels at first. Because manifestation begins not with the external world changing, but with your inner world stopping its resistance. When the emotional static that once filled you starts to fade. When years of tension loosen without effort. When your energy aligns naturally with a new configuration. This is where the shift begins. Quantum physics reflects this perfectly. The collapse of a wave into a defined state happens silently. No spark, no explosion, just a subtle, ghost-like transition from infinite possibility to a single reality. The universe doesn't make noise when probability reorganizes, neither do you. Your frequency shifts quietly, precisely. Your body senses it before your mind does. Neuroscience even confirms it. When your identity begins updating, the first measurable change is less neural noise, fewer thought loops, less emotional reactivity, and reduced hypervigilance. You don't feel euphoria. You feel clarity. You don't feel excitement. You feel space. And because the mind craves stimulation, it may misinterpret that space as nothing is happening. But in truth, everything is happening. This quiet isn't emptiness. It's alignment. It's when your energy stops fighting your desires and starts matching them. When you stop swinging between wanting and fearing. When you stop rehearsing the past and loosening your grip on outcomes. The stillness you feel is the absence of distortion, interference, and internal contradiction. Without those distortions, your signal becomes coherent, and coherent signals manifest faster. Think of those moments in your life when something extraordinary appeared effortlessly, a solution when you weren't searching, the perfect person showing up at the right time, opportunities arriving without force. Look closely. You'll notice these moments weren't born from intensity. They came from quiet. You weren't overthinking. You weren't chasing. You were simply present, and reality shifted. Most people miss this because they expect growth and manifestation to feel dramatic. They listen for thunder, but the universe speaks in resonance, subtle, gentle, and quiet. It feels like ease, like relief, like a softening in your chest that's easy to overlook, but it's your signal. It's your new timeline entering. That softness you feel is the beginning of coherence. And coherence is what the quantum field responds to instantly. The shift feels quiet because noise comes from your old identity, not the new one. Noise is the emotional chaos of a self trying to control everything. It's the survival programming that believes pressure creates results. It's the mind replaying stories the body has already outgrown. When you enter this silent shift, you're stepping out of that version of yourself. You're stepping into an identity that doesn't need to be loud to feel real. Silence isn't the absence of movement. It's the signature of alignment. When your inner world quiets down, the field around you becomes active. When your nervous system calms, the universe accelerates. When your energy stabilizes, your timeline opens. This quiet isn't stagnation, it's synchronization. You're not waiting for the shift, you're already in it. Long before manifestation becomes physical, your body feels the shift. Not your thoughts, not your affirmations, your body. The deeper layers of your physiology start adjusting to the new timeline even while your conscious mind is still wondering why you suddenly feel different. These shifts are delicate and easy to overlook. Most people miss them because they expect drama, but quantum manifestation is biological before it's visible. Your body recognizes a new reality through coherence long before your mind has the language for it. Your chest softens, your breath smooths out, your awareness widens just a little. The tension you didn't know you were carrying begins to dissolve. None of it feels dramatic. It feels like calm. But calm is transformation in its purest form. Before your life changes, your nervous system changes. Before the timeline shifts, your emotional field stabilizes. Before the universe rearranges itself, your internal frequency stops contradicting itself. These early sensations are subtle because they're clean, free from expectation, fear, or mental projection. They're the clearest signs that the field has already responded to your signal. Quantum change begins with micro-adjustments, not fireworks. Neuroscience backs this up. The first signs of identity transformation are tiny. Less hypervigilance, softer internal tension, a brief pause in repetitive thought loops. These micro-signals mean your brain has stopped predicting your future from the emotional patterns of your past. It's sensing a new baseline, one that doesn't require constant guarding or controlling. When your mind quiets even a little, your electromagnetic field becomes more coherent. And coherence is the language the universe reads. The quantum doesn't respond to effort. It responds to consistency. These subtle shifts are your first moments of internal consistency. Not because you forced a new state, but because you finally stopped interrupting the one that was trying to form. Most people never notice this stage because they're addicted to intensity. They expect change to feel like excitement or revelation. But intensity is noise. Noise is emotional residue. Noise is survival memory pretending to be urgency. The universe speaks in the spaces beneath that noise. In sensations so small, the mind usually dismisses them. But subtle doesn't mean weak. Subtle means precise. When your energy shifts, it shifts cleanly. No drama, no spikes. Just a gentle reorientation toward coherence so exact that your mind doesn't know how to label it. That's why the shift feels subtle. Your entire system is adjusting to a timeline more aligned than anything you've held before. And alignment doesn't create adrenaline, it creates peace. You might notice tiny, almost invisible signs. A breath that suddenly feels easier, a thought that loses its charge, a desire that no longer weighs you down, a situation that no longer triggers old reflexes, a sense that something is settling even though nothing has changed yet. These aren't coincidences. They're micro-indicators that your identity is already updating. The subtle shift always comes before the external shift, because your body has to stabilize the frequency before the universe can mirror it. What makes this stage so powerful is how these subtle shifts compound. One small release in your chest today becomes a deeper, fuller breath tomorrow. One moment of neutrality now becomes a new emotional baseline later. The universe doesn't need your certainty. It only needs your openness. And openness starts with the tiniest adjustments. If you've been feeling calmer than usual, more neutral, more observant, don't dismiss it. That calmness is the field aligning with the version of you that's ready. It's the earliest sign that what you've been calling in has already entered your energy space. And if some part of you recognizes this, if you feel even a slight quiet settling inside, mark it in a way your nervous system can anchor. Type in the comments, "I trust the quiet shift." Not as a ritual or a technique, but as acknowledgement of the truth. The universe does its most powerful work in silence. It feels silent at first, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is finally happening without resistance. The quantum field doesn't announce itself with drama or intensity. It doesn't shout. It doesn't overwhelm. Instead, it creates coherence so subtle, so stable, that your system relaxes into it before you even realize the transition has started. Quiet is the language of the universe. Noise, emotional, mental, physical, is interference. And interference is the enemy of manifestation. It scrambles your signal, destabilizes your field, and pulls you back into old emotional patterns. When you're immersed in noise, your energy flickers, becoming inconsistent, divided, tangled. The quantum cannot collapse into form around a tangled signal. This is why the shift feels subtle. Subtlety is coherence. Coherence is clarity, and clarity is what collapses probabilities into reality. Physics mirrors this perfectly. A wave only becomes a particle when interference is reduced. Too much turbulence, too much noise, and collapse takes longer. But when the wave quiets, it defines itself. It becomes form. It becomes real. The same happens inside you. When your internal world quiets, your timeline stabilizes and collapses into physical experience much faster. The universe isn't responding to emotion. It's responding to coherence. It doesn't listen to how passionate you are. It responds to how aligned you are. Passion can be chaotic. Desire can be chaotic. Even excitement can be chaotic. But coherence is stillness wrapped in precision. Coherence is silence arranged into order. Coherence is the frequency that says, "This identity is ready." This is why major manifestations often show up during periods of calm, when nothing seems to be happening. You feel neutral, spacious, steady. You're not rushing, not pushing, not obsessing, not scanning for signs. It feels almost too quiet to matter. But that quiet is exactly what signals the field. Interference is gone. And when interference is gone, the universe accelerates. Neuroscience mirrors this. When your emotional patterns destabilize, your brain produces noise, random firing, hypervigilance, looping thoughts. Decisions become inconsistent. Micro cues of fear flood your nervous system. Even if your thinking is positive, your biology may send mixed signals. But when your inner world reaches coherence, your brain enters a state called low excitation stability. Fewer unnecessary signals, smoother processing, calmer rhythms. You don't feel euphoric. You feel grounded, not stimulated. You feel steady. And this steadiness makes your desires magnetic. Silence isn't absence. Silence is alignment. The universe isn't waiting for intensity. It's waiting for consistency. When your inner world becomes quiet, your field becomes readable. When your field is readable, your intentions are recognizable. When your intentions are recognizable, your timeline opens. Your manifestations aren't subtle because they're weak. They're subtle because they're precise. Precision doesn't shout. It flows effortlessly. That quiet, that calm you might notice, it's not stagnation. It's activation. You've stopped gripping. You've stopped projecting. You've stopped interrupting your own signal. Your system has entered the frequency the universe needs to respond coherently. The universe protects your manifestations through subtlety. Loud shifts trigger doubt, analytical interference, and survival reflexes. Subtle shifts bypass the mind's defenses, integrating beneath awareness until your identity is ready to hold them without resistance. Quiet is safe. Quiet is stable. Quiet is sustainable. Once you understand this, you stop chasing sensations and start noticing signals. You stop mistaking calm for inaction. You begin to trust the space between your thoughts as the birthplace of new timelines. You sense the difference between a quiet mind and a dormant one. You begin to understand that the future enters through silence. If your life feels quieter lately, internally, emotionally, energetically, don't overlook it. This isn't a pause before progress. This is progress. Your energy is stabilizing. Your identity is reorganizing. Your signal is becoming coherent. The universe is close enough to whisper, and that whisper is the beginning of acceleration. There comes a point where you stop waiting for signs and start noticing something far more powerful. You've become the sign. Not because you feel invincible, not because you're fueled by momentum, but because your energy has settled into a stability that no longer needs external confirmation. You're not seeking proof. You're not checking for alignment. You're not trying to predict the universe. You're simply living from a frequency that no longer contradicts your desires. This is the whisper-level identity, the version of you that doesn't need noise to feel secure. The version that trusts subtlety, because subtlety is where the universe does its finest work. The version whose field is coherent enough that the absence of chaos feels more real than the presence of certainty. This identity isn't louder than your old self. It's quieter. But its quiet is magnetic. You step into it the moment you stop depending on intensity to feel connected to your path. Intensity belongs to the old you, the you who believed manifestation was something to chase, earn, or fight for. Whisper-level identity emerges when you realize manifesting isn't an accomplishment, it's resonance. And resonance doesn't roar, it hums. At this level, your body becomes the indicator. You feel steadiness in your chest where pressure once lived, calm in your abdomen where fear once lived, a quiet inevitability where doubt once echoed. These sensations don't scream. They whisper you're no longer in your own way, and that whisper is enough to move worlds. The universe responds immediately when you broadcast from identity, not longing. Manifestation becomes a natural outcome of your state. You aren't sending urgency. You aren't leaking energy through overthinking. You aren't gripping with fear disguised as determination. Your frequency becomes clean, stable, readable. Because it's readable, the field aligns around you effortlessly. This identity doesn't chase high vibration. It stops contradicting the belief that already exists beneath doubt. It becomes the person who no longer depends on images or visualization, because the inner state is already aligned. The whisper-level identity is your truest self, the one buried beneath noise, fear, urgency, and self-surveillance. When those layers fall away, you're left with the version of you the universe has always been waiting for, coherent, aligned, and ready. Here's the subtle magic. When you become this version, manifestation stops feeling like a result and becomes a rhythm. Life responds. Timelines adjust without force. Opportunities fit without friction. You act from intuition, not impulse. The shift is seamless. You might almost miss it. But your reality reorganizes around your calm. Quiet isn't absence. It's the upgrade of your identity. When you no longer need external proof, reality stops delaying. Proof comes faster because your energy isn't blocking delivery. You trust the timing because your system isn't braced for disappointment. Belief has become baseline, not effort. This is why manifestation feels subtle. The self receiving it is no longer unstable. When your identity is coherent, the universe doesn't need to shake you. It simply meets you. And if you sense even the slightest resonance, a whisper of recognition that your energy is aligning, trust it. That whisper is the universe confirming you're stepping into the identity that makes receiving effortless. If you're ready to deepen, stabilize, and embody this identity, the path is here. The Awaken Your Quantum Power ebook and its practical companion were made for exactly this stage. They help anchor the silent shift, expand coherence, dissolve interference, and elevate your identity so quantum manifestation becomes natural, fluid, and fast. The link is waiting in the pinned comment. If your energy feels open, follow the whisper. That's how your next timeline begins.